It's an industry that I generally love. I have a passion for. I eat, sleep, I live for fitness.
No, you need to be obsessed. You need to wake up, think about it. You need to go to bed, think about your clients, think about your progress, think about what you can do better.
Genuinely, just be patient and take your time. That is you've got to take it all in the right steps. You've got to nail what you do in person before you go online.
I don't like to talk about fear. The fears is usually something that makes your worries real.
You are listening to the Coaching Ignited show, where we bring you stories and insights from coaches, fitness professionals and industry experts to help you expand your business and reach your goals. If you're a new listener, thanks for joining us. My name is Alex Povey. You can subscribe to the podcast on all your favorite apps, including Spotify and iTunes. The Coaching Ignited movement is on a mission to help coaches and personal trainers increase their sales and reach their full potential. If you wanted to find out more, please head over to CoachingIgnited.com. And if you wanted to connect with us on social media, all the details can be found in the show notes. Now let's get into today's show. On today's episode of the podcast, we've got Ben Coomber, the founder of Fat Loss for Life, BTN Academy, Awesome Supps, and the host of the UK's #1 podcast, Ben Coomber Radio. On the show, we talk about various different topics, including social media, positioning yourself as a key person of influence, online training, podcasting, and what you need to think about in order to build a very successful personal training business in today's market. So as always, sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so we are live. I want to thank you so much for being here, Ben. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this today.
Thank you, dude. Pleasure.
So for anyone in the fitness industry who has somehow missed your unmissable presence, can you tell us who Ben Coomber is?
So I'm a health and fitness coach, educator, and really a geek for everything health and fitness related, and kind of moved into the business world around, 2009 properly. So I was an obese lad, lost all the weight. That weight loss journey inspired me to become a personal trainer and share that life-changing kind of journey with other people. Trained as a personal trainer through lots of good courses, to be honest. I studied through the Czech Institute, International Society of Sports Nutrition, and kind of accelerated my sort of academic learning in the trade quite quickly. But I think that made me a very arrogant young trainer, which I had to kind of work through. Anyway, I spent several years being a trainer. In that period of time, went to university and studied sports performance and coaching. Started my first online coaching business in 2009, made loads of mistakes, started my second one in 2010. Amongst all of this, I've worked on fitness retreats all around the world. I've worked in elite sport. I've worked with kids in schools. When I was younger, I basically did every job that I could to expose myself to different environments, to kind of really understand what I wanted to do long term. So I've been focused on the online space full time since 2011. Started off online coaching, then that moved into online education. That spawned my one-to-one coaching into group coaching online. And these days we run a nutrition education company called the BTN Academy. So we train nutritionists. I have a supplement company called Awesome Supplements. And then I do a lot of speaking and stuff, and have the UK's #1 rated health and fitness podcast, Ben Coomber Radio.
Wow. So tons of things that you're obviously involved in and managing. How do you kind of distribute your time between Fat Loss for Life? That's your online training, right? Fat Loss for Life.
Yeah.
You've got BTN Academy. You've got Awesome Supps, like you mentioned. You've got Ben Coomber Radio. You've got a million other things. You're traveling. I see you're in Dubai recently. How do you manage all these things? Does having split focus amongst all those different things kind of serve you, or does it overwhelm you sometimes?
Oh, don't get me wrong. There's days it overwhelms me, but it's because I'm a passionate person and I've just ended up doing a lot of stuff. I get excited by things. I just couldn't do one thing. It's just not, I don't really think it's in my DNA. I would recommend anyone listening to this to become and do something or one thing very well, and then add something else to it. It becomes very stressful trying to do two things when they're both not working well. So I remember the time when we started the supplement company, and actually our education company needed a little bit of work as well. And we were just trying to do both at the same time. And it was very, very tough. And we did it, don't get me wrong, but it just, creates a few more sleepless nights than needs to. So I always say to people, like, if you're currently personal training or whatever your trade is, become incredible at that and then do the next thing. And I've seen an emergence over time of a lot of trainers focusing on the online world because they're not winning at the offline world. And I'm like, that's an alarm bell for me, because that probably means that you're not a very good coach. If you can't get a full client list in the offline setting, you're probably going to struggle even more on the online setting. So coming back to your question, how do I juggle it all? I'm very organized. I've got a very good team. I'm good at saying no. I turn off my phone and concentrate on what I need to concentrate when I need to. I'm constantly educating myself so I can develop skills to keep winning and keep innovating. And, I keep passionate about what I do by, being involved in the industry and getting out there and generating new ideas to bring back to the business and the team.
You mentioned something there that I was actually going to ask you. So I've literally thought about this today because I was sat in a coffee shop here in Thailand. I was looking at all your stuff and going into all the things you do. And I was thinking, like, what questions do I want to ask Ben? And you mentioned something there, because this crops up in my business all the time, because I speak to trainers every day in commercial gyms who struggle to build face-to-face businesses. And many of them think that going online is the solution, right? Which you've probably heard. And then they claim it's going to be easier because there's more people online. That's kind of their perception. Or they can just drop the price and sell more programs for cheap. So what's your take on that, Ben?
Well, don't get me wrong. There's some people that have been very successful and won in the online coaching space. But it is hard to make a really good business with online coaching in an ethical way. A lot of people are just like selling plans, 50 quid for this, 60 quid for that. And, they're just cookie cutter stuff. You're not really getting powerful change. And I would always say, like, why are you doing your job? Why are you doing what you do? Is it to change lives? Is it to educate? Or is it just to make money? Don't get me wrong. You could probably make more money online, but it would take a lot longer. To get scale online is quite hard. It's not as easy as everyone just makes out. Like getting your first 1,000 Instagram followers, it's not easy. It takes a long time to get up there. My Instagram, is a fairly decent place for my marketing now, but I've been doing it for like 5 years or whatever. So there's not a lot of graph that people don't see. So, both options are good, but I don't think anyone is ever going to really hold their hand up and say, I am a fantastic coach that gets life-changing results, if you can't build a business offline first, because results build a personal training business. If you create incredible change in someone, they're going to go and tell 3 or 4 of their friends, and that's how you create a very quick, simple business offline.
Why do you think then there's such an explosion of these online trainers then, and what's your take on it? Because if you go on Facebook right now, personally, I'd get hit with tons of ads. Maybe it's because I follow a lot of fitness-based professionals or coaches, but I get hit with an ad every minute of people promoting take your business online, travel the world with freedom, all that stuff, right? And there's some great people that do it, and there's some not so great people that do it. But why do you think there's such a big kind of movement in that direction at the moment?
Because people,
where's that coming from?
The perception is people think it's easy, and you also don't have to get outside your comfort zone. A lot of people struggle on the gym floor because they don't have the confidence to play the numbers game and go and talk to 25 different prospects that day just to go and get 2 sales. They think that, they'd rather just sit at home on Instagram and post their lunch and then talk about calories and think, I'll get a couple of clients rolling in. It's, to really win in business, there's got to be a point where you are going to have to get outside your comfort zone and do some uncomfortable things, because the reality is we're not good at everything. I'm not good at everything, and I've had to learn skills to improve my business. And then over time, I've built a team that, props up my weaknesses and helps me out in the areas that I'm not good at.
I keep coming back to a little clip, like a little soundbite that I always hear of you, actually. I think it's on Remote Revolutions podcast with James Moody and George Crawshaw. And you say something like, people ask you, what's the secret to business? There is no secret. You just have to go out and get it and actually work for it and chase it down, right? And I'm guessing that's your philosophy when it comes to building all these businesses that you've got, the online, the BTN, the awesome Supps, and doing your podcast, right?
100%. And it becomes, so that saying, going out there and getting it, actually becomes a lot more difficult the more businesses that you have. And I've found this over the last year that, I've struggled to really have enough focus to go, right, well, what are we doing today? What sales are we getting in? Where are we going? Because I've been bogged down in the development of several different projects. And that's why singular focus at a point in time is important. Like, if you're developing a great online coaching program, then do that, refine the model, test it, and then go out there and relentlessly sell it. And then if you get bored of doing that in 18 months' time, then that's fine. But you would have learned something. You would have created some kind of scale that leads into success in your next product. And you also would have got a fair amount of money in the bank, hopefully, from doing that thing successfully. Going out there and selling multiple things is pretty tough, but I've probably strategically played quite a long game and put myself into a position where we can do this now. And I've got, very skilled team members that know how to do this.
Yeah, that's an interesting point there, because obviously you mentioned about like mastering one thing, and it's the same with anything really. You pick a niche so you can effectively become the expert in that particular area, and particularly online, you can cut through the noise because your message is speaking to a specific type of person. But with all the things that you're doing, so you've got all these different things, how do you overcome that? Because how do you know what and when to promote things? Because you've got lots of different things that you could talk about on your social, on your podcast, on your websites. You mentioned about teams. Do you have specific people that promote those things for you? Or do you have kind of some strategy behind when you push certain things, when you talk about certain things?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's a bit of both. So I have BTN Academy, our nutrition education company, is largely managed by Tom. So Tom does all the teaching. He does the majority of the marketing. And then he has a support framework around the marketing to input for me when I need to input on paid marketing when he needs it. Jack, who's head of Awesome, he's in charge of all the social media, Amazon strategy, all that kind of stuff. So he manages that, and then I chip in when I need to. So those businesses, I'm sort of chipping in like 3-4 hours a week to help run and manage and be creative, that kind of stuff. Some of that is, doing marketing on my own channels. Then a lot of my other time is spent sort of doing the podcast, getting out there and speaking, developing our strategy, managing the team as a whole and our efficiency. But then I have a head of operations, and she manages all the day-to-day of the business. I've got a PA, so she manages all my appointments, schedules my social media, all that kind of stuff. So the business is chunked up, and then it has its own sales channel. So BTN has its own sales channel, and I might mention it somewhere on my socials maybe once a week. And the same with Awesome Supplements. So it's a case of picking and choosing, being organized and cross-promoting it now and again. But every company has its own sales channels.
Got you. So what do you enjoy doing the most? What juices you up every day? So when you wake up, what are you most excited to do? With all these things that you could focus on and spend your attention on, what juices you up?
I don't know, if I'm honest. It changes all the time. So there'll be days where I'm just excited to write and pull together a book. There'll be days when I'm excited to get on the road and go and speak in front of a group of trainers or a group of, guys and girls wanting to get in great shape. There's days where I'm excited to sit down with my team and build a strategy. And I think that's why I've built a business that I have, because I like the challenge of doing lots of different things. I don't really like focusing on one thing. There's lots of different things that I can very quickly become passionate about. But I think the thing that I'm most passionate about is sharing the wealth of knowledge, giving out information where people can empower themselves. That's why I love writing books, because I know that will get read and people will change their lives. That's why I love standing up in front of a group of people and teaching them, because I know that information will change their lives. So there's not one thing. Sorry.
No, that's cool though. I'm just interested because obviously you've got loads of things, and it makes sense why you've got lots of things, because you like doing lots of things. So you've designed your life that way, right? You've built all these companies to give you things that you can play with, things that you can do, and it gives you that variety. You don't like the same. Sounds like you don't like the same thing over and over.
Oh, of course. And I want there to be a key lesson here for people, because some people misinterpret that as being financially focused, and I'm not. Don't get me wrong, I want a good life and I want a nice house and I want to be comfortable and stuff. But if I was financially focused, I would do a lot less and I would do it better. So, for example, I charge my time out as a consultant or a speaker at $8.50 a day. And if I focused on that a lot more, I could probably do 2 speaking gigs a week, going around the UK, teaching at gyms, bringing in groups of trainers and speaking to them, that kind of stuff. My Fat Loss for Life program, if I'm concentrating on it, I'm bringing in anywhere from 50 to 100 clients a month. Like that alone would kind of generate me about 10 grand a month net take home. But I don't earn anywhere near that much because I'm not financially minded. I just enjoy the challenge of building things. I enjoy the challenge of bringing people into my team that are quite inexperienced and helping them and teaching them. I want to see, what's possible. Like, can we do this with our business? Well, why don't we spend that money there? Like the amount of money that we spend every month on new ideas, having a go at stuff, building a new sort of experience within one of our businesses is just astronomical. And I've had many sit down with business coaches, and they're like, "Look, just focus on this, just do that." And I'm like, "Nah." And it's like with money, there's a point that you get to a certain level of comfort, and really any more doesn't drastically change your life. Like, I'll be honest, I earn 45 grand a year, and that's all I take out of my businesses. And our businesses currently turn over about $1 million. So, I'm not financially interested. I'm interested in developing myself, adding to the industry, changing people's lives, and bringing out products and services that help push the needle on our industry. Because if you do good, the money will follow. That's never really going to be a problem if you're doing good work.
Yeah, thanks for being so open about that. I mean, in terms of the money side of things, because I'm going through the same thought processes at the moment with our business, and I think it'll be interesting for a lot of people if we dive deeper into this, because anyone that doesn't really have much money is going to be money focused because they're trying to get to that, like you said, level of comfort that it provides. And some people have got big aspirations to make truckloads of money. But like you said, you reach a point where you realize you don't need more. You just need enough to be able to do certain things. And having more doesn't always make you happy. How did you come to that realization, or is that always been the case for you? Have you always just not really been motivated by it and you just like the process of building companies?
Yeah, I definitely like the process of building companies. So one of my original goals, and it's still a goal because I never want to move backwards, one of my original goals was to have enough money that I could do whatever I wanted when I wanted. Now, that's not an extreme goal in that, I'm going to go and buy a car or, just ridiculous things. It's like I want to live a really meaningful everyday life. So if I walked into a shop and I'm like, there's a £70 pair of shoes, I actually really like them, I'm just going to buy them. Or me and the wife are looking at summer holiday. Yeah. We're looking at summer holiday and I'm like, why don't we just go here? And it's like 1,500 quid each. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. For me, that was where I wanted to be. And I knew that if I kept doing good, kept building my business, I'll know when that happens. I'll know where that level of comfort just sort of comes from. And I can look at my bank account and go, oh, cool, I've still got 2 grand left this month. And it might be the 20th of the month. Yeah, I'm going to buy those shoes. Yeah, I'm going to do that thing. So over time, I then learned that really anything above kind of about 35 grand a year brought me that kind of level of comfort. And, you know, trainers are so focused on 6-figure this and 6-figure that. And it's like, yeah, like that's all possible, but it is a fair amount of hard work and you have to keep innovating quite regularly. And actually, I think your first goal should be to get to a level where you're earning 30, 40, 45, maybe 50 grand a year. And actually, instead of just doing more, maybe try and optimize that business so you can work a little bit less and have real meaning with the work that you do. For me, the dream as a personal trainer should probably be working about 25 hours a week, couple of hours of admin and stuff, and then done. And that you're earning like good salary, you're able to take time off without panicking, all the rest of it. And that is genuinely really achievable if you're a good coach, if you provide a great service to your clients, and if you get savvy with your business and really take care of the clients that just come into your business.
Let's talk about that for a second then, the coaching and getting to that level that you just mentioned where they've got 25 hours, it's optimized, there's freedom to go on holiday without worrying about your clients leaving you, you're getting awesome results. How does a coach get to that level? Because you and I both know there's a lot of people in the industry struggle. They don't get to that point. They leave. They never make it. A lot of them, or they struggle, they take part-time jobs, they move back in with their parents, and they don't achieve the goals that they set out to achieve when they were going through their level 2 and level 3. So what are some of the things that you think people actually need to focus on to make sure they get to that point? 25 hours, bit of freedom, a good amount of money.
Sure. So there's a couple of essential things here. You need to become an incredible coach. So you need to know that whatever you do with a client, you can get them results. Fat loss, building muscle, like whatever your angle is and whatever you're passionate about, become incredibly good at that. You then need to be able to be good at packaging your services. So too many trainers are selling like an hour of personal training. No client wants to buy an hour of personal training. A client wants to buy a result. And this is why, you know, crappy products that we see on the internet work, because they're promising an end result. So with your product and service, what are you going to try and promise or deliver for a client? And this is where, you know, 8-week, 12-week transformations work. This is where, you know, a system works, because a client can go, okay, if I spend £150 this month with you and for the next 3 months, and I train with you 3 days a week, and I get a diet plan and I get all this stuff, I'm expecting to get this outcome. And it's very hard to sell a block of 10 personal training sessions. Like, what does that even get you? So you have to think of you as a product and a service, and then it becomes a lot easier to sell. So when I teach trainers, I'm like, okay, sell me your service. And they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm a personal trainer and I charge £30 an hour and I really like to work with clients 3 days a week. And I'm like, fuck, like already I'm like getting bored. I'm like, reverse that. Like if you were in business, how would you package that up that I could really visualize an end result? Well, I'm a personal trainer and I love specializing in fat loss. I run a transformation program. It runs for 12 weeks. In those 12 weeks, you get a diet plan, you get a training plan, you get 3 sessions with me, you get support online, you get loads of recipes, you get a support community. That's £180 a month. And I've currently got a bit of a waiting list, but I reckon you can get on the program in 3 weeks' time. And I reckon, and then already, like I've just given you a good, 45-second elevator pitch of me, my product, my service. And I've done that with confidence and authority. And once you look at your business like that and you package it like a business and you really sell it like you believe in it and there's an end result, your business is actually amazingly easy to sell.
Yeah, I love what you said there, because you switch from selling time and being bland about the situation to selling the result and making it exciting, but also creating some scarcity as well, which is part of a sales process to help people make a decision that you've got a good product, right?
And And it's tough sometimes to get into that mindset, because you might have a bit of financial scarcity and stuff. So I always say to trainers, like, train anyone and everyone, charge the price that you need to charge. And as soon as you get to earning, like, let's say 1,500 quid a month, and you're literally covering all your costs. So your rent's paid, your car's paid, your food's paid. You're in a position where you don't need any more money to, like, just live your life. That's the moment you flip your business and you say, right, this is how I'm now going to run my business. I can be successful and build it in the way that I want. And that's when you start to dictate your hours of work rather than your clients dictating your hours of work. That's when you start to build your dream packages and really how your business is going to work. So I always say to people, like, do anything and everything to get the clients in the door. And then once there's a certain amount in the door, start to build the business for the future. Don't be that trainer that gets to 50 hours a week running around like a headless chicken, because then you've got no time to build your future business. There's literally no time left in the day. There's no creativity. You're losing passion for it. So as soon as you reach that tipping point financially, go all in on creating your future business and perfecting it.
So when it comes to the results side of things now, because obviously that's the front end of building in the clients and getting them on board and selling them into the programs. But when it comes down to the results, obviously that's another game, right? It's another kind of angle to the business that maybe a lot of people struggle with. They get the clients, but then they can't get the results. What would you say some of the key things that people need to focus on to ensure they get good results, transformations, and they lead to good testimonials that they can reuse, repackage, and sell more people into the program?
Well, firstly, hopefully the trainer knows how to get results. We've probably got to breach the question of why do clients not get results. So it might be that the program that you've given them is too rigid, is too specific, it's not flexible enough for their lifestyle. It might be that you're not holding them accountable enough. Like, a huge amount of people that struggle to get results need someone external to make them accountable. That's why they hire personal trainers. I'm very internally motivated, so I don't need a coach to reach my goals. I will do it myself. I'm internally driven. Whereas a lot of people that struggle, we know, are not those types of people. So are you having regular check-ins? Do they have touch points? Do they know what to do in every situation? Are you making it, essentially easy for them to get results? That's really the crux of getting great results. And if I was to look back in my early training career, I didn't get results when all of my plans and my programs were too rigid. It didn't really look at that person and how they need to behave and how it needs to work for them to get their own level of very successful results. And ultimately, like, if you need to go a little bit extreme in the short term to get a great result, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you're teaching your client that they are going through a bit of an extreme transformation, and off the back end, you're going to kind of taper off and teach them the right habits and routines. I have a problem with extreme transformations when they are done just for the transformation and the client isn't taught any long-term change or behavior changes to their habits and routines. That's a big problem for me. But don't get me wrong, if you can get quick fat loss with a client, that's going to buy them into the process and probably steamroller their results.
Yeah, absolutely agree with all that. So in terms of your social, because you mentioned that at the start with your social media, you're at 30,000+ followers on Instagram. I think 70+ Facebook, something along those lines.
Yep.
How do you get to that point? What steps were taken for that to happen? Can you look back and go, I took these steps to create that influence or awareness or following, and maybe some things that other personal trainers can use to raise their influence and the steps that they can position to make themselves experts too, maybe in their markets or niches? That would be awesome to hear, Ben.
Yeah, so with social media, you've got to be desirable to listen to, right? So first and foremost, you've got to be putting out great content. So look at the people that are doing great things online and analyze why. You know, they might be funny, they might be controversial, they might be sciencey. Like they've probably all got an angle that people have bought into and are following them because that angle's really well refined. All the trainers that are just sort of like casually talking about hydration and calories and all that kind of stuff are probably not doing that well because it's not packaged in a way online that's interesting. So you've got to be interesting on social media, and there's plenty of people that we can look at who have done very well very quickly online because they've taken a particular angle. That being said, you've got to be consistent. So you need to be a voice of authority in someone's life consistently over time for them to go and buy something off you. So if you're only posting on Facebook twice a week, you're probably going to lose to the guy that's posting every day and responding to the comments every day and responding to the messages every day. So when I built my business, I was on social media every day. I'm not on it every day anymore because I've built probably an ecosystem and a system in general that doesn't need me to be on social media every day, which is a good thing. But I was the guy that, you know, was on Facebook, was responding to messages, was seeing opportunities, was seeing where there's traffic, was collaborating with other people, was researching social media tactics so I could, you know, be better at it. But ultimately, you've got to be interesting, you've got to be consistent, and you've got to be around.
So it's showing up every day, and that kind of mirrors building a face-to-face business or an online business or any type of business. You effectively got to show up and treat it as if it were a business and build it that way.
Yeah, I do think it's easier offline though, because I don't think you need to show up every day. And showing up might be short term. So for example, if you started in a gym and you said, right, for the next 12 weeks, I'm going to live in this gym. I'm going to speak to everyone. I'm absolutely going to hustle my tits off. The chances are you've built your business and it's pretty much done. If you're getting great results with clients, your client referral should pretty much be bringing in the new people in your business. Maybe you've got to work hard like now and again, but not really. Online doesn't really work like that. You've got to keep momentum up online. If you go to sleep for a couple of weeks because, you're a bit bored or haven't got any ideas, it's going to be a lot harder to gain back that momentum because you lose relevancy in the social media algorithm. So that's why I always say to people, like, if you just want to build a great business and help people, you're probably better off doing it offline than online, because online is kind of a constant battle. It's just the nature of the beast.
No, that's a good realization, actually, particularly with the growing it offline. It is front end heavy. Like you said, you've got to put in that upfront work, but then that should serve you going forward with that pipeline you've effectively built of clients, of leads. And then, like you said, if you can actually get results, you're going to get referrals. Let's go back to the online again then, because you mentioned something about when you started your online business, you made mistakes, right? So there will be people listening to this thinking about taking their business online, right? It's inevitable because there's so many people wanting to do it. So I think it's worth us touching on that for value purposes. But you made some mistakes, right? So what were the mistakes and what would you do differently if you were going to do it again?
Yeah, I fell into the trap of building a business around where I thought the clients would be. So what I mean by that is, if we think about the diet industry, most of the clients or people interested in fat loss, we could say, or this was my thinking at the time, that they were female, 30 to 45, interested in things like Weight Watchers, Slimming World, which were all the popular companies at the time of me setting up my business. So I built a business to attract those people because I thought that's where there was opportunity. And don't get me wrong, there is opportunity there because that's why companies are doing well there. But I was working in that business for 9 months and I absolutely hated it after 9 months because I was coaching people that I just didn't want to coach. And that's largely because I was a young guy. I was interested in sports, athletics, building muscle, personal development. And I essentially was just very far removed from the clients that I ended up coaching. And I wasn't able to be an effective coach because it was very hard at where I was at to kind of sympathize with their problems and just really understand where they're at and where their goals were. So, don't get me wrong, if I had like 30-40% of those clients and the rest were all like sports orientated, gym orientated, I probably wouldn't have minded because I would have been taking the rough with the smooth. But literally all of my clients were people that had been yo-yo dieting for 8 to 10 years, and they were just really draining. And I was like, right, I've set up this business all wrong. I'm not enjoying the clients that I'm coaching. So I sat down and was like, right, who do I want to coach? And I was like, right, I want to coach young people that are into sport, they're into building muscle, just kind of think like me, really, and maybe just like 2 or 3 years behind me, and I can impart my wisdom on them. So I built that business, and it became so much more enjoyable to work in, because I was just coaching people that thought and behaved like me.
So it was the clients then that you didn't like about the business, and that
it was the clients.
problem.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The branding was then all set up for that type of client. So my first ever online business was called YourDietAdvisor.co.uk, and over time I was just like, this isn't representing me. The brand isn't me. So alongside the clients, I then had to set up the brand to attract the new types of clients that I wanted to work with. And, let's be honest, every personal trainer or person in business wants to work with a particular type of client. And it doesn't matter who it is. It's just I wanted to work with those types of people. So I had to build my business in a way that I could attract those people so I could enjoy the time that I was spending in my business.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So I want to dive into your podcast because I'm interested, and there'll be a lot of people now, because I think it's become more popular, the whole podcasting scene. Even a lot of my clients, personal trainers that I coach, ask me whether they should set up podcasts, whether they should launch one. So I'd be interested to get your take on it, because you started years and years ago, right? When did you start your podcast?
I think it was around 6 years ago now. I've done over 405 shows now.
Wow.
And I've podcasted without fail every week. So I've never missed a show. And that's my commitment to my message, to my business. Podcasting is an interesting one. Don't get me wrong, it's pretty easy. Like, none of us are going through too much sweat at the moment. We're sitting here in front of a microphone and we're just chatting shop. So it's not a difficult platform, but it's becoming, like social media in general, a highly competitive space. Like, there's a lot of people getting in on the action. And the problem in general with marketing, and this is transferred over to podcasting, is because people think it's easy, they just fire up a podcast and they just have a chat. And while that might have worked 4 or 5 years ago because there wasn't many people doing podcasting and it was probably easier to win, now just firing up a podcast and having a chat, unless you're a really interesting person, it's not going to work. And I suppose what I'm getting at is anything that you do in business, any activity that you perform, is it relevant to start with? Like, if you're a personal trainer in a David Lloyd gym, is it that relevant for you to start a podcast? Like, is it really going to support your business? Is that a good use of your time? Probably not. Are you a good interviewer? Because if you're going to interview people, you want to be a good interviewer. I have been on so many podcasts where people have interviewed me and it was kind of almost just out of personal interest, and they haven't bared in mind what the audience's experience is going to be from that podcast. So I had a guy the other day and he interviewed me, and the conversation just went everywhere. Like, Ben, tell me about this. Oh, tell me about that. Tell me about your diet. Tell me about your business. And I was just sitting there thinking, if I was a listener, I wouldn't really know what I'm getting out of this show. Like, I know that my show is always about living an awesome life. And it's about personal development. So we talk about training, and we talk about mindset, and we talk about nutrition, and we talk about books that we've learned and a bit of leadership and stuff, because it all relates to you living an awesome life and being able to apply this information. And so many trainers are just treating podcasting like a way to have like a nice little chat with each other and interview some interesting guests. And, you know, there's so many podcasts that I know, I'm talking to you and I'm like, oh, so how many downloads are you getting? I'm like, oh, I got 50 last week. And I'm like, that's just not even worth your effort. So rant aside, podcasting is great. But like anything, you've got to know your angle. You've got to know the outcome and the experience that you want your listener to get from the podcast. And you've got to refine your ability at it, because while it seems like it's just having a chat, it's not just having a chat.
In terms of your podcast then, so when you started yours, what was your thought process going into it? Because like you said, it wasn't just about having a chat, or maybe it was when you first started and then it developed into something else. But what was your thought process going into it? Because I'm sure this will be good for people listening, because then if they're going to do it, they probably need to think about what they're going to get out of it.
Yeah, so I always went into it with the thought process that I'm going to be a thought leader in the UK in the nutrition space. And because at the time, not a huge amount of people were doing podcasts in the UK, it was an opportunity for me to say, look, I'm going to have some ownership on this space. So I always went into it going, right, we're going to discuss the latest and greatest in nutrition. I'm going to interview the best people on the planet that people want to hear from. I'm going to give my opinion, be able to explore lots of different topics. But ultimately, I want to build a deep and personal connection with the people that are listening, so I can build trust, so that I can support my business ecosystem and leave a legacy and an imprint on people.
Amazing. All right, so let's wrap things up. I want to say thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you coming on the show. In terms of all your things, your BTN Academy, your awesome Supps, anything that you're currently working on project-wise, like what's the best place or places for people to find what you do and get stuck into all the stuff that you're doing?
Sure. So there's trainers and coaches listening to this show. So I would get you to check out 3 things. Firstly, my podcast, Coomber Radio. There might be some interesting stuff that you'd like to listen to on there. Secondly, my Amazon book, How to Be an Awesome Personal Trainer. I basically wrote kind of a lesson-focused autobiography of me being a personal trainer and how I screwed up, and what I did to fix all my screw-ups so that you can become a better trainer. And then thirdly, if you're interested in learning about nutrition and behavior change, then go and check out the BTN Academy, which is our nutrition education company. So yeah, podcast, book, and our online courses. Awesome. How many books have you written now? I've written quite a few, but there's only really one primarily in circulation. I've taken them like all off sale, and they're going to be re-released over the next 18 months in their new and improved versions. Awesome. So one last question before you go, Ben, and I ask this to everyone at the end. What do you think makes a good coach? Ooh. I think a great coach is someone that can really provide exactly what the person in front of you is wanting. So if you can really listen and you can really create the package and experience that person wants, you'll get incredible results with every person, because ultimately coaching is about people. It's not just about knowing about training nutrition. It's about the person in front of you and their emotions, their beliefs, their values, their knowledge, all of that stuff. Perfect. Thank you so much. Once again, really grateful for you spending the time doing this. I really appreciate it so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day back in the UK as well. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the show. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you did, head over to your favorite app and leave us a short review. I'd really appreciate that. And if you wanted to learn more about our products and services, head over to CoachingIgnited.com. And if you wanted an awesome website built for your coaching business, head over to our partner company, SavectaMedia.com. That's all from me. See you soon.